right, welcome back. Today, Chase, we're going to talk about clarifying some misconceptions, I think it's a great way to say it, about Roths and Roth conversions. And we're getting most of the information from a great article we have here on with that same title. So you'll have a chance at the end of this or while you're watching us to click if you want to read the whole article, and we encourage you to take advantage of doing that. So let's go through the top 10 misconceptions or ideas about Roth conversion, because we're hearing a lot about that today, aren't we?
Boy, you hit it right on the head there, Dave. I think we don't go a day without hearing someone ask us about Roth conversion, taxes, and how that kind of affects their entire retirement. So I think it's very poignant to be talking about that today. So the first one is that anyone that has an IRA can do a Roth conversion, right? Regardless of whether you make $1 million, whether you make $0, anyone can do a Roth conversion if they have a traditional IRA.
Yeah, that comes up every now and then. Folks saying my account's too small, or some folks think my account's too big to do it. So,
right.
Yeah,
and to that point, there's really no limit as far as how much you can convert. If you have, $10 million in an IRA, you could convert it all if you wanted to. Now that may be ill-advised based on our next few points.
Right, because it begs the question,
right?
Why would the government be happy with you rolling your entire $500,000 IRA to a Roth?
Right.
Well, the reason is in a Roth conversion, you're asking to pay the tax on the conversion up front right now. So if you roll an entire $500,000 IRA out, that year you have to pay tax on $500,000, which, as you said it very well, is ill-advised.
Yes,
to say the least.
Yes. So with that as the backdrop, that's really the crux of the question we get, right? Is, hey, should I pay the taxes today by doing a Roth conversion in anticipation of possibly taxes being higher in the future and me being in a lower tax bracket today?
Yeah, and I would say the answer to that is it's different for everybody, right? It depends on your age, it depends on your income, because in the U.S., a lot of people don't know this, interestingly, Chase, but in the U.S., the tax structure is actually what we call a stair-step tax structure. So the idea, in theory, would be to move over a portion of your IRA if and only if we can do it and you can end up in a lower tax structure.
Right.
And that just takes a little planning. So it's not for everybody, but it is something that should be on your radar that you should discuss with your financial professional.
Exactly. And quick note there, some folks may have an inherited IRA where possibly a parent passed you their IRA after they passed. You cannot do a conversion on that inherited IRA.
That's exactly right. Yep. So that's got its own set of rules. If you're not sure about that, again, get with your financial professional or give us a call. We can kind of talk about it.
Yep. Another question that we often get is, hey, if I'm under the magic number of 59.5, which the government has dubbed as being no penalty for taking money out of your traditional IRA,
That's right.
People ask, hey, do I have to be that old to do a Roth conversion? The answer is no. You can do a Roth conversion at any age. But to your point, Dave, we want to take into consideration all the different tax implications that would look like.
Yeah, so the big takeaway here is, I think the elephant in the room is, why would someone even be considering doing this, rolling money from their IRA, paying taxes today so that they can withdraw it later tax-free? Well, the only reason, in theory, you would want to do that is if you believe taxes are going up, and then down the road, when you retire, you will actually be in a higher tax rate. No one knows if that's going to be the case, so it's in a bit of a gamble. But for younger people, if you're betting on taxes going up, the argument would be really the sooner I rolled it to a Roth, the better, because you want now the money to continue to grow tax-free, instead of growing a whole bunch before and then having to pay tax on it to roll it over. Right. The other thing I would consider if you're young is, remember, you can't touch the money anyway. So it's a great technique. For example, let's say that you have a year and you're between jobs and your income goes from $100,000 and the next year you have no income. You're out of work. What a great year to roll some money over to a Roth. You have no reported income, so you might be able to roll it in at a very low tax rate. So just put that on your radar if you're ever between jobs.
Yep. And something to consider, especially if you want to do that Roth conversion before 59.5. Something to consider there is, remember, when you do the Roth conversion, other funds, remember, remember, pre-59.5, other funds are going to have to be used to pay that tax bill.
That's exactly right. Remember, the idea here is you're rolling the money over,
Right.
but you're paying the tax on what you roll over. So how are you going to do that? Well, you got two options. You can pull even more money out of your IRA
Right.
to cover the tax bill,
Right.
which, as you said, you don't want to do if you're under 59.5 because you've got a penalty
Right.
on that extra money.
Right.
So if you're going to do it before 59.5, we always recommend you do it only if you have enough money sitting outside your retirement, like in your bank account or something,
Right.
that you can use to cover the tax bill.
Yep. So in that vein, right, with the taxes, remember the taxes aren't due the day you do the Roth conversion. Those will be due during tax time, similar to the other taxes that you have throughout the year. And then also, I think you alluded to this earlier, Dave, you can do a partial conversion. You never have to roll your entire IRA into a Roth IRA. And actually, that's probably the way we would recommend most folks doing it. If you, I think you would agree, Dave, that we never want to do it all at once.
Yes, but the amounts would be different for everybody,
Yep,
right?
yep.
It's going to be based on your income structure and how that fits into the tax code. So we would try to maximize the amount you pull out to be in lower tax brackets.
Yep. And a lot of folks ask us, well, hey, at age now 72, we're going to have to take money out of these IRAs, right? The government requires us. They're called your required minimum distributions. The government requires you to take a certain percentage out of your IRAs every single year. So folks ask us, well, hey, since I have to take this money out, can I convert it to a Roth?
Yeah, that's a lot of people aren't even aware of that.
Mhm.
So that's a tricky concept.
Yep.
And the government, as they often do, in my opinion, they kind of make things a little more complicated than they have to.
Mhm.
Like you said, RMD is short for required minimum distribution, and that's a fancy way of just saying that for your money that's in a regular IRA or 401k, you've never paid tax on that money. And the government's saying, hey, we want our tax dollars. So you're going to, even if you don't need the money, you've got to withdraw at least a little bit each year, starting at 72,
Right.
a little bit each year. And they have a table that, we do help our clients with the table that tells you how much. But here's the thing, it's not taken away as taxes. You just have to withdraw it and pay taxes on it. Then it's still your money to do with what you want.
Yep.
Right? So what you're saying, I want to make sure we're hearing this right now, that we understand RMDs, is you hit 72, and let's say, for example, your required minimum distribution that has to come out of your IRA is $10,000. That can't go into a Roth. That
Exactly.
can't be converted. Now,
Exactly.
if you take that out, and then that year you want to take an additional $3,000 and convert it, you can do it with the extra.
Yep.
Right?
Exactly.
The extra.
Exactly.
So, good. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yep. So with that as the backdrop, right, we have to be careful when we're doing the Roth conversions, right? Obviously, when we do a Roth conversion, we have to pay taxes on that based on our income, right? But there are a couple other dominoes that will drop if we end up doing something like that, if we get our income above a certain level.
Yeah, Chase likes to call that stealth taxing.
Yes.
And I think it's a good phrase you use with it. So what do you mean by what would be a stealth tax?
Well, a good example is not a lot of people are aware that if your adjusted gross income rises above a certain rate, and if you're collecting Social Security, that's going to affect how much you pay for Medicare and affect how much your Social Security check is taxed. So we really want to be cognizant of not only, to your point earlier, Dave, the tax bracket that we're in, but also be cognizant of these other stealth taxes that you may not take into consideration when doing a Roth conversion.
Yeah, I think the big takeaway with all of this would be, it sounds like a lot, and it is. Just like why folks use an accountant often to do their taxes. This is just a heads up that there's a lot of moving pieces here.
Absolutely.
So if you're interested in a Roth conversion, get with your financial professional. If you're working with us, get with us and we can walk you through and we know all of these pieces to
Right.
check, right?
Right.
We'll walk through them for you.
And to that point, Dave, there's really no one size fits all. It's very easy for a soundbite to say, oh, we need to convert everything to Roths, but there is no one size fits all strategy when it comes to the Roth conversions. Every person's strategy is a little bit different. and everyone's income's a little bit different. Hence, their Roth conversion strategy would be a little
Yeah,
different.
we have just as many clients that when we go through this process, we recommend they don't do a Roth conversion as we have folks that do.
Right.
And I think if there's one takeaway from this talk,
Mhm.
that would be it. Because
Right.
right now, that's the buzzword in the financial community. You just hear everyone saying, do Roth conversions.
Right.
There is no strategy in the investment world that is for everyone. Right. That's why you want to have an independent look at where you are, what you and your family are trying to accomplish, and then build out a plan, not just for Roth conversions, really, but for everything, right? And that's, of course, what we do. Income planning and medical bills planning and, everything you want to do in retirement needs to be planned out.
Absolutely. Well, hey, thanks for joining us today. If you see below, click the button, subscribe and like, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah.